Hello, students. Are you back? Nitish, are you back from the dinner? Were you able to get dinner? Okay. Was the mass open? Okay. Okay. Thankfully, that didn't go. Let me push the notification. Okay. Yeah. There is no separate URL separate GitHub link for the notification service. You can get the notification service in the same GitHub. You can get the notification service in the same GitHub repository that you have been using so far. Yeah, I'm going to share the screen. Just give me 1 second. It's on my radar. I know I have not shared the screen. I'm going to share it just give me 2 minutes. Okay. So, so in the next few classes, there might be, I don't know, maybe I should not share this, but just to get a perspective from the students, would you like to have the front-end classes also from me? Like, would you like me to take the front-end classes also for the same app? Like, we can continue the whole journey till the front end as well. Just wanted. I don't know whether that's a good question to ask, but yeah. The team was asking me if you want to take the front-end classes. I thought I'll ask the students. Okay, makes sense. We'll again understand front-end from the first principles. That is how I will teach. Just like I'm teaching everything here with the first principles, I'll explain front-end as well from the first principles. Okay, I'm going to share my screen now. And today, the agenda for today is to connect the notification service app with the CRM app. Okay. So first thing, I'll create a new folder and copy the data from the CRM app. So I'll just Control C and okay. I rename this here 13 connecting notification service. It should be connecting CRM app
टॉपिक पढ़ने का तो बड़ा होगा
to the notification
बड़ा हो जाएगा
service. And today's date is 2nd
कितना बड़ा है
of
तुम्हारा छोटा
January 2023. Have I made a blunder here? Yes, I think I have made a blunder. Can you tell me what is the blunder I made? I just delete this. The blunder I made was I copied the notification service. Notification service will stay the same. Actually, you need to copy the building CRM app with this folder. Folder number 10, not 12. Copy folder number 12, 10 and paste it. So the changes will happen only in the CRM app, and I'll explain the high level view of this whole transaction in just a second. But I'll just create a new folder, and in this folder I'll call it as 13 connecting CRM app to the notification service, and then you will have second January 2023. Now I go to we will not need, okay, now let me go to this folder.
हो गया देखने लायक हो गया
Let's look at video got stuck. Is it stuck for is it still stuck or are there? I was switching between the no, okay. So let me give you the overview of what I'm trying to make. Again, the focus should be on the big picture. If the big picture is clear, you will figure out the code. I mean, it will take some hit and trial, it will take some understanding. But if the big picture is clear, you can easily code the thing up. And the big picture is this. There is a notification service. Oh yeah, my video might have gotten stuck when I was switching between the apps. Sorry for that. There is something called as notification service. It's a extra service that you have whose sole purpose in life is to send notifications to whatever users you want notification to be sent to. And you have a CRM app whose sole purpose in life is to manage the database. You have a database of tickets, and CRM app is basically there so that people can interact with those database. There will be a front-end app which is going to interact with this app and will show the UI to the user and will receive requests from the CRM app. Now, this CRM app has only one trade that it needs to do with the notification service. We are going to do two of them. First is, whenever a new ticket gets created, whenever I create a new ticket, I should be notifying two people. First is the engineer, and second is the customer. I need to notify the engineer and the customer that an a ticket has been created. Does that make sense? So whenever you raise a request on a customer service platform, they typically send you a email saying that your request has been registered on our platform. So you talk to a customer service representative, and they tell you, okay, I'm adding a ticket on your name, and then you get an email from the company saying that, yeah, your ticket has been added. So the customer service representative is actually talking to the CRM app, and or either the customer or the representative, one of those two people are talking to the CRM app, and then the CRM app is sending, whenever there's a ticket created, it sends a message to the notification service, whose job is just to notify everyone. It is like your postman who goes around, and so whenever you have so in in my small town, whenever there is a marriage, we typically call the barber, and then the barber roams around the locality and tells everyone that some so and so has a wedding invitation. I mean, or maybe a small function is happening. There's a small function inside the mehndi, or some kind of function is going on. The barber will go around and will notify all the people that this function is going on. Please come. Okay. Notification service is actually that barber. Okay. And now here is a discussion. This might get a little philosophical, but I think I have a point that is worth sharing. And the point is this purpose thing. Have you ever thought about purpose? Have you ever thought about what is your purpose in life? I mean, this is again a question that might, I mean, if you are in your early 20s or maybe in your late 20s, that might be a question that you're sometimes concerned with. Many people get concerned about it in their 45, when they look back in their life and they realize that, okay, I didn't serve any purpose. But what is the purpose? What is the meaning of purpose? Have you ever thought about that? Any guesses? Just tell me what is the meaning of purpose, and then I'll show you how it is related to programming. Okay. What is purpose? What are purpose is like reason or something. Reason for something. That's very close. That's a direction. Direction is not that close. Aradhya is very close. Make some more guesses. It's okay to make some guesses in this class. This is a general topic, so you can surely make guesses here. Purpose is, I define it as this: reason for being. What is the reason for your existence? Okay. That is called as purpose. As long as the purposes are clear. So, for example, if you are managing an organization, you need to know what is the purpose of each of the employees in your organization. And there should be a clear understanding between the employees that what is exactly the task, what is the reason for you being paid. Okay. What is the reason for you being in the system? That is called as purpose. So an organization will have some employees, some software developers, there will be some program managers, okay, and then there will be some managers. There will be all sorts of hierarchy in here, but every person has a purpose that they serve. And as you grow up in the hierarchy, it becomes lesser and lesser clear. It becomes less clear as to what is the purpose you're serving, and the less clarity, and people will not tell you, and you have to do a lot of guesswork as you grow up in the hierarchy to understand what is the purpose you're serving. And so you need clarity about the purpose, and you need a way of communicating it with the team. Like everyone should know who is the person for what. Okay, so that is the purpose. Similarly, when you have companies, again, The same concept applies. There is a purpose for any successful company. Any company which is not doing or not burning cash from the investors, who is just not burning cash from the investors, have a clear purpose which they are solving, their reason for being in the market. And as long as that reason is there, the whole marketing and the whole product thing works. Okay, and everything serves that purpose as long as as far as the company is concerned. Once that purpose is failed, it will not take much time for the company to go down. Okay, so are you understanding the logical direction where I'm taking you with this? Now, the same thing is there with your code. Every part of your code or every part of your design has a specific purpose. Doesn't matter how big or how small that purpose is. A clean design is a design where the purposes are clear to everyone. Okay? Clean code is where purpose keeps change as you get desired output. Yes, Ankit, that is true. So that is again how it happens in the organizations and how it happens everywhere. Like companies try to reposition themselves. You try to get a promotion over time. You get promotion over time. But again, the key point is clean code or clean organization is clarity of purpose. As long as the purpose is clear, you know what is expected from a particular piece of code. You know how it is going to, how it should perform that purpose. Okay, and that's how you can now. This is the unifying thing across the different hierarchies of abstractions that I've been talking about. Every line of code that you write has a specific purpose. Why you have written that line? You all have a bunch of lines here, and you can pinpoint when you are analyzing a small piece of code. You can see what each line of that code means. When you combine those few lines together and you create a function also have a purpose, and it should be clear. It should be clear in your mind what purpose the function is serving. If that purpose is not clear, then that function is a messy function. Sir, can we consider notification? Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly, Ankit. So flow of code will become clear when the purposes of each of the line is clear. And then on top of functions, you have modules. And a module is also serving a purpose. Every module has a different purpose. And now the question is, why do you have difference? Why do you have code for the controller different from the code for model? Have you ever thought about it? I could have very well combined the controller with the model and created a clumsy function, a long function that will do the exact same job. But that is not clear programming. I don't know what purpose it is serving. And it is so difficult to explain at this level. Okay, it's very costly to explain your code line by line. This is something that I also am not doing in this class. If this was a DSA class, I would have gone through each of the line of code and explain you the lines. But here I'm not explaining you the lines. And there are two ways, the two things. First of all, it's not efficient in terms of time. And second, it is not the right way to explain the code. Okay. Now, it would have taken me a lot of time to explain if I would have combined the controller and the model in one big function. Because I have to go back to these lines where I have to explain you each line what it is doing. But when I separate it into controller and model, suddenly my task becomes very easy. You see? Everyone in the industry knows what a controller does. So it will not take me much time to explain that my controller is doing so and so. There's a controller for the user user creation. As soon as I say this word, there's a controller for user creation. The person in front of me knows what I'm talking about. As soon as I say my user creation model has following fields, the person knows what I'm talking about. And that is where we can do away with a lot of complexity. Anyone who is looking at your code knows exactly what is going where. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. So many of the times when you look at a piece of code and you start working in a company, suppose you did very well in DSA and you got a job in a company, you suddenly look at a piece of code and you don't know how to make head and tail of it. Have you ever had that experience? You have a piece of code and you don't know how to make a head or tail of it. There's a big app and you don't know how to understand it. The first response would be to go line by line on each piece of code, and that is not going to work. I mean, that can work if you have infinite time and you don't mind being laid off from the company, but that is not going to work. You will have to chunk different pieces of the information together, and then you have to analyze the code. Okay. So now let's go back to this. We have our CRM app. Now I'm covering the whole complexity of the notification service. This whole diagram, you see this whole diagram, I have covered it into a single box called as notification service. Suddenly notification service, this small diagram is a zoomed out version of this big diagram. Okay. This small diagram is the zoomed out version of that bigger diagram. And nobody has a problem because they know what exactly it is doing. I don't mind how it is doing it at this point. So I don't worry about that. But I know that there is a notification service which will do this task. This is its purpose. And I'm clear with that. Now I send a ticket. I notify the engineer and customer. And the other functionality I can use this notification services. Whenever I update a ticket, I would like to notify the engineer and the customer. Those are the two use cases I have for notification service currently. Is the big picture clear? I think Vivek Patel has an exam till 4th, so he's not in the class. Vivek, in the future, if you are watching this video, just let me know if you have any doubts. Anyone else has a doubt about the whole picture? Aradhya is having fun with this whole discussion. Yeah. Sometimes it happens that I'm sharing a concept and that actually particularly hits a student very well. And I think this purpose discussion hits Aradhya very well. That's good. Sure. Now, so we have, let me close all this window. First thing, which is to run my notification server. So I'm currently in the notification server. I'll just do node app.js and it will start my notification server. Every 30 seconds, it is going to check. It is running on port 3030 and every 30 seconds, it will check for unsent messages. One thing I will not be able to show you is how emails are sent across because I'll have to disconnect from this Wi-Fi and connect to another Wi-Fi, which is not a pleasant experience for the whole class. But there's an unsent email and it will not get sent. I promise you it will not get sent. So I'll just add a new folder and Now I can do this one. Let me show you one more thing. I can do something like ping. Sorry. I can do test connection. And I can do localhost -p 3030. You see what happened here? I was able to connect to the notification server. Do you see this magic? Okay. So we were connected to notification server. Notification server is working well. That is good. Now what we are going to do is, so I'll show you how it will not work also. So there is nothing running on 3000. So if I run this, it says failed. Okay. So it is not something that is running on all ports. It is specifically on 3030 that you have a local host running. On 3000, there is nothing running. Okay. So just find that difference. So we know that our notification service is running. Now I will cd into in CRM app. Inside this folder 13, I'm going to define another utility. Inside utility, I'm going to define something called as notification client.js. This is a utility and it is a client. So just notice the name of it, notification client. What does that mean? Have you thought? Let's think about it. We have to install some package to use ping. On Windows, if you are using PowerShell, test connection is already installed, Aradhya. So you don't have to do anything. So you can directly use test connection and that will work. But if you're using Linux, there is something, PingWiz will obviously be installed, but you can do telnet or something to install that. You can check for this. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying. I will be getting a new laptop soon, and I will be switching to Debian for sure. Have you seen any instructor taking lectures from Debian or Ubuntu? Does this platform works with that? I just want to get an update on that. Yes, Sakib, that is a very good idea, and you should be doing that. If you don't do it, it's a very bad practice. I was thinking of covering that in today's class, but I don't know how much time I have left. So, anyways. So I wrote a name called as notification client. What does this mean? This means I will save my client code. What do you understand what client code is? There is two things. So there is a server and there is a client. There is a client and there is a server. And this server might be client to some other servers. There might be a server 1 and it is communicating to server 2. Okay. Now, you will have small clients written inside this server, small modules which you call as notification client or backend client or something like that, which signifies to every developer that this piece of code is going to communicate to the notification service. And that is the purpose of this piece of code. It will send whatever request goes to the notification service have to go from the notification client. Purpose clear? Okay. Now, we'll have the notification client. And for this, we'll need something called as where client is required. There's a module called as node rest client. And you need to call client on this. and you can save it. Okay. Let me check my package.json. It does not contain it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and do npm I don't want to write the whole install. npm I node rest client node rest client save. Will get the client for me. High severity vulnerability. What is this? What is the vulnerability? Let me do npm audit. What's the vulnerability? Okay, so there's something JSON web token has been updated or something. So let me just fix it. npm audit. Vulnerable to signature validation bypass due to insecure default algorithm. Verified. Okay. Safe. There are people who have found a hack into the JSON web token. So it's a good idea to fix it. So I just do force, and it is going to fix the vulnerability. I will see if my code is running well after this, but let me just continue with coding. I have the client. All I do is where client, define a new client. Just do new client. Now this client contains what do you understand by a client? Have we ever used a client so far? Have you ever used a client before this? Think a little more. Have you used a client in the discussion you have with me? No, as user, whatever. Have you used something called as client so far? Kushal got it. Yes, Kushal. What have you used as a client? Yes, exactly. We have used Postman. Postman was our client. Okay. Think of this module as a code version of Postman. So whatever you were doing with the Postman, you can do the same things with this module. This class can do all the things that the Postman can do. And I'll define a function which takes the ticket ID, subject, content, email IDs, and requester. And then what we'll do is we'll create a request body. You see what request body is? The raw body that we used to write in our Postman code. That same thing we are writing here. We are writing a Postman code. So whatever you are doing in that app, you have to do the same thing. Just give me 1 second. What line 1 and 3 are doing exactly? So 1 is basically getting the client from this module called as Node REST client. Okay. Once you have the module, you define an object from that class. Okay. What is a client in? So basically, it is getting the client object from this module. Yeah, this is getting. So this is the module. It will have a bunch of exports. So it has many exports. It has client. Maybe I don't know what all exports does it have. Let me just Okay, let me just do this and show you the client object. Save this and I go to this. I do node. So node slash util notification client.js. So you see what is here? It is an object containing an object called as client. This contains an object inside this. Now you can pick up on with the Node REST client, Node REST client code writer, but they have actually wrapped around the client inside an object. You see here, the client is inside an object. So it's a very counterintuitive way of doing it. But I don't know, they have done it. What I do is I unpack this client from the yes, exactly. It is a function, but it is a like prototype function. You can think of that function as an object as well. So JavaScript is actually blurring the lines between functions and objects. So you can call it as a object. You can also probably call it like a function, and it will do the same. It returns the client. So you can do any of these things. Deconstructing. It is similar to deconstructing, but you can think of it as what feature will it give us? Node REST client. Avijit, it will give the feature same as Postman. Whatever features you had with Postman, similar feature set will be there with Node REST client. It can communicate with REST APIs. That is the purpose of this client. Okay. So now you don't have to worry about sending bits of ones and zeros on the REST API. You can just send these larger data and the client will take care of it. Now you have few things. Request body should contain. Now for this, I'm going to show you the request body that I have created for the Node client. Maybe I can show. Let me see if I still have that body. What are the things that I have in my request body for my notification service? Let's look at that. There's post notification. In post notification, the body contains few things: subject, ticket ID, content, recipient email, and requester. These are the 5 things that my request body contains. I have to give the same 5 things to my notification client or to my Node REST client. I'll copy paste. But now you see, I cannot send values which are hard coded. That beats the purpose of coding itself. What I need to do is I get these values while calling the function, and so requester is something I need. I also need email IDs. I need the content. I need the ticket ID. And I need the subject. So far, so good. So we have a request body. After the request body, is something called as, why am I using where? This is And this is the problem of referring a documentation. Const, I can use const here. I can use a const here also. And I'll have a const args. Now this request, so sending a request will contain two things. One is the data, which contains request body, and you'll have a header. It will contain something called as content type. You remember we used to save content type in the Postman. So I'll show you how it happens. Suppose I come here and I change this JSON to text. What has changed? This has changed, but as far as REST API is concerned, the thing that has changed is in header there is something called as connection type, and now it is plain text. I go back to the body and I change it to JSON. Now again go back to header, and suddenly the content type is changed. Okay? So it might look as if you are communicating with a lot of click and drag options, but there are essentially two things that you are communicating with. One is the header, one is the params, one is the header, and the other is the body. And you can do the same thing here also. You have the body, you have the header. You can also have params if you want. So content type is application JSON. I use the analogy of Postman because it is easier to understand. You have experience of Postman, so you can understand what is happening. Now I will write the last line and it will become all clear. All you need to do to make a post request, you need to call the client. And in the client, you have to send the URL. URL is going to be HTTP. So we will replace, so it will replace Postman. Yes, it will. So Aradhya, the problem with Postman is your CRM app cannot use Postman. You can use Postman for sure, but your CRM app cannot use it. So it needs some way of doing the same thing that you're doing with the Postman program automatically. And this code does exactly that. It automates that process. So here's a short story. Oh, yeah, it's more useful. So I'll tell you a short story about this. It might be looking like let me see what is the URL I'm using in the notification service. Routers notification service. Yeah. This might be feeling like a low-hanging fruit. Like it might be looking as if something very trivial. You are just automating this process. But why is it so? What is it so? It is so because CRM app. So it is creating an instance of CRM app for our notification service. No, we are coding in the CRM app right now. Inside CRM app, I'm inside the CRM app. This is CRM app. Okay. This is the routers of tickets, users, and all. Inside CRM app, I define a notification client, which is going to communicate with the notification service. Notification service is a separate service running on a separate port on my computer. And the communication will happen between these two ports now. Okay? Does that make sense, Abhijit? Yeah. So I define that I'm going to talk to this port. And then all I do is, what is client? What is client? A method? Client is, so understand the word client. Client is somebody who sends a request to a server. That is the purpose of life of client, nothing else. Now client here is an object which is from this class called as a node REST client. Okay. And this object has the superpower that whatever whatever request you send it, it can send it through the REST API. Whatever REST API you have, it can send request to it. You just provide the URL, you provide the arguments. If there is success, if there is a success in this, there will be a callback function. Just give me 1 second. There will be a callback function which will have data and response. But instead, manually, it will run given API automatically. Exactly, Parab. And how would you have done it if you don't have the access to client? So if you don't have access to client and you are still like Anil Ambani who don't know how to do business. So what you do is you will have somebody who will sit on a computer, look at the database all the time, and whenever there is a change in the database, open up Postman and sends the request using the Postman. Okay, that would be the manual equivalent of doing this thing. Abhijit, I'll explain that. I'll explain how. Most of the changes that people are doing in a code should be like this. They know specifically where they need to change. They go there, make the change, and move forward with their life. Now I'll just write here a node app.js. Let's hope it is make the change. Problems with, and if you change this one thing and the whole code breaks, that means either you have changed the wrong thing or there is serious problems with the code. Okay. Ideally, most of the changes that people are doing in a code should be like this. They know specifically where they need to change. They go there, make the change, and move forward. And my boss should be happy. Save this, and that's all the changes I needed to make in my controller. And my task is done, and my boss should be happy. Now, I don't have to go through the whole code to make this change. I know everything else will work fine. And if you change this one thing and the whole code breaks, that means either you have saying timeout error so many times. Okay. It is trying to send, it is poor soul. So there are two people who should get notified. First is the user who has called it. So user.email is one. and you will have engineer.email, and you can save it inside a array. Hmm. But you see, what is the problem here? I think it will work, but I'm not sure. So I'll just send it like this, and hopefully it will work. If it does not work, I'll check. And who is the requester? User.email ID. Now, what is subject? Subject is whenever you send an email, you write a subject about the email, which tells you what that email is about. Similar to if I send you an email, I would want a subject to be written. That's what subject is. Description is the overall email. You will not directly send the ticket description as it is to the two clients. You might have another API, or you might have a simple code which translates a ticket description into a beautiful HTML. So that might be a code that you can write here. But for the timing, I'm just sending the description as it is. But you can write a proper HTML here, and that email will get sent. There is a user ID, there is email address, and there is engineer email address. And once you provide these 5 things, you're good to go. And trust me, this assignment will be like a 1-week assignment in a company, in a large company. In Microsoft, it might be actually a year-long project. I might be exaggerating a little, but in Microsoft, this might be a year-long project. What have you done this year? I've sent the ticket notification from the notification service. But still, if you and there will be people who will be working 8 hours a day for the whole year and just to send this small piece of information. Anyways, so here also we'll have the same thing. Ticket ID. And we'll have ticket with ID. You can send ticket ID. Ticket with ticket ID. Update. And then okay, so one thing that I have done wrong here is you don't send a list of emails here. You don't send a list of emails. You actually send a string because this is going through your email client. So does it happen in large CMB? Yes, that happens in large companies. So user email and engineer email should be comma separated list of emails. Okay, that is one technical thing. That's a small scale detail that you might have to, because when SMTP is sending it, it is not processing an array, it is processing strings. So you can think of it as an email client. Okay, so just like you comma separate different emails while sending them from Gmail, you comma separate them while sending it from the notification service. Does it happen in that large companies? Yes, large companies have, especially in Microsoft, it is like that. Yeah, you can just Microsoft is just take retirement. They pay well and they have all those. If there are people like this, but sir, we need to switch on notification server to run this service. We have switched it on. In this PowerShell. It is running here silently, saying timeout error so many times. Okay. It is trying to send. It is poor soul. I sometimes feel sorry for these machines because they do they do so stupid work. I mean, that machine is running for last half an hour trying to send something that I know will not get sent because of the email address problem. And that machine is emotionless. That's okay. I'm that machine is like, I am sending it. I don't mind. Okay. Again, here I can write ticket description. I can write ticket description, and I'll have saved user. I have saved user. What do I have here? There is a saved user, and there is something called as the engineer. Ticket status, signee. No. Who is the engineer? Okay. So now you'll have to do few things that you have to write here. First is const. Who is the engineer on this ticket? You need to notify him, so you'll just do await. Await user dot find one, and here you are going to send user ID as or assignee. This is one. Similarly, you can get the, once you have the engineer, you can also get the reporter. Who is reporting has reported this ticket. These are the two people who needs to be notified every time there is some change into the ticket. It will be a bad user experience if you create a ticket and things are happening to it and you are not getting notified about it. So this is ticket.reporter. This is ticket.status. You have an engineer, you have reporter, and then comes the ticket, the email sent. We have the ticket description. And now we are going to send it to 3 people. Avijit, what is happening here? Line 84 to 90. Okay, so I'm taking all the parties who needs to, so look at this, update ticket. Update ticket is a simple function. A user says I'm going to update the ticket. I call him the saved user. Okay, he is going to update the ticket. Now, whatever updates I have found the ticket by the params. Whatever API params I had, I found the ticket. Once I found the ticket, I look at the request, and whatever the user has changed in the ticket, I update that in the ticket. Once I have updated all those things, I have a new ticket which I save. So now one party is, so it is different, update is different from create. In create, the user was the reporter was the party who was creating the ticket. But in update, it can be the engineer, it can be the user, it can also be an admin who is changing the ticket. Anyone can change the ticket. Okay? So there are essentially 3 parties. One party who is changing the ticket. He can be an engineer or customer, but I'll keep him separate because I know that there is something called as admin, which can cause problem. So I have the person who has changed the ticket. I call him saved user. Then I have two more entities. First is the engineer, and second is the reporter, who should also be stakeholders in changes to the data. So I have these 3 people. All I do is I separate them with a comma, and I notify all of them. Notify saved user. I notify the engineer, and finally I notify the reporter. I don't want to keep anyone unhappy. I notify all 3 of them. Now, who is the requester? Can you tell me out of these 3, who has requested this update? Avijit, I want an answer from you. Out of these 3, who is the reporter of this change? Now, that may not be the case. Saved user and reporter are not the same. Reporter is the person who initially created the ticket. He is the reporter. When you have ticket create, you have something called as reporter. When I call ticket create, the person who is sending this request, who is sending, reporter is the person who is sending this request. And how do you get the reporter, Avijit? You get it from the what is called x-axis token. JWT token gave you the person who created the request. Similarly, here the JWT token gave you the person who initialized this update ticket request. Okay. Now, here the saved user is the person who have changed the ticket. Who is the change initiator? And I say this is the person who is the reporter of this change. I save this, and that's all the changes I needed to make in my controller. And my task is done, and my boss should be happy. Now I don't have to go through the whole code to make this change. I know everything else will work fine. And if you change this one thing and the whole code breaks, that means either you have changed the wrong thing or there is serious problems with the code. Okay. Ideally, most of the changes that people are doing in a code should be like this. They know specifically where they need to change. They go there, make the change, and move forward with their life. Now I'll just write here a node app.js. Let's hope it is created. Okay, the admin is created, and he has created 3 tickets. Let me go back to my Mongoose and see if I have enough users. Otherwise, I'll have to create some users and that might be a little longer. Let me check how much time I have. I have 10 minutes. So I think I can create some users. I just need 2 users. So I go to something called as CRM app db2. There is something as users. There are 3 users. One is the admin. The other is the customer, and the other is the engineer. So perfect. I have few users. Now I can go to Postman. And I can create a new request. And this request is a post request. On the I need to create a ticket as before that I'll have to log in as a customer. So I'll just write get. Let me see. How do I log in? So I come here and user, routes of user. Auths, logs. If you post a request on sign in, you can actually log in. So I come here, copy this, and let me see what is the password for Anshu09. It is, oh my god, I have not saved the password. I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it might be the correct password. So I just create a post request on localhost 3000 / whatever API CRM API sign in, and body is raw JSON, and in this I have something called as. Is there a name for this way of fetching ticket ID inside client? You don't fetch ticket ID in client. You fetch it in the controller. This is basically that basically, yeah. No, it's not callback. It's not callback. It's regular parameter passing. Like you're just passing a parameter. I don't know if there is a specific name, so I'm sorry. Uh, uh, Let me go back to the sign-in function and see how to make a sign-in request. So I'll just go to applications, controllers, authentication. You need not sign up. You need sign in, and in this you need a user ID and a password. You need password and user ID. Okay, I'll send both of them. So I come to my postman. I write user ID. Is it that way? Sorry. User ID, and user ID is who is the customer? Anshul009. This is the user ID. This is the user ID. And we have password. We have the password as 1234556. Let me hope that it works. Send it. What it says. And it says I got the access token. Very good. So my memory is not bad. It saved us few minutes of coding. So we have the access token. With the access token, I'm going to post a request to create. So first of all, let me save this. So I'll just Control S and I'll create a new collection, called it a CRM app. And in this collection, I'll write something, request name as sign in customer. Let's hit this. Yeah. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another request, which is a how do you create a ticket ticket router. I can post on CRM API tickets, and I just need a token. So I come back, I do local host, and I write this. In this, I'll have a body. This will be a raw body with JSON. First of all, I'll have a header, which is X access token. X access token. And this token is the sign-in customer. It's from here to here. It's the token. And then the body. The body will contain few things. Let me see how is the request for a ticket is looking like. So I need the title, priority, description, and status, and user ID. User ID I'll get from the access token. I need description, priority, and title, and status. How am I going to use the status? I'll not define a status for the timing. I'll just let it be undefined. So I'll send the title. Let this be just ticket. I'll have a description. Let me copy the spelling of description. I'm very bad with the spellings. Description. Random. Also have something called as ticket priority. Let me set it to be equal to 2. And description. have to send. These are the three things I need. I've sent all of them. And now I will just create a post request. Send it. It says it created a request with priority to open status. Okay. Now this ticket got created. Now look at this here. Now this ticket got created and it has sent the request and the request got accepted. It has sent the request to my notification server. If I go to my notification server, it says these two, Anand and Karan. Karan is the engineer who is assigned, and Anand is the customer, and it received this request, and it is one of the pending requests that it has now. Okay, I can show you in the DB as well. If I go back to the notification DB and I refresh this, let me refresh this. I go to notification DB. There are two documents. It is one document which is saying a random ticket has been created, and these are the two people who needs to be notified about it. Okay, Anand and Karan should be notified. Anand is one of my client, one of my customer, and Karan is my client. Karan is my engineer. Okay, is the overall flow making sense to you? I'll stop sharing my screen. Aradhya? Nitish? Yes, can I summarize? When will notification service need a client to be defined? When you are going to, you can think of client as basically a way of sending messages over REST API. So whenever you want to use another service, you create a client for that. Abhijit. Whenever you want to call a new service, you create a client for it and you can call it. It is like your personal postman. Whenever every service has a postman, and then it can send notice to other services. Now let's look at what has happened so far. This is the person called as the customer. Customer sent a request to the CRM app that, hey, I am a customer, and he says, please sign me in. The CRM app signed him in and sent him a X-axis token. He CRM app send a JWT token to the customer. Using that JWT token, the customer actually created a ticket. The CRM app saved that ticket in its DB. First it sent it to the controller. Controller saved the ticket to the DB in the model. Once the ticket was saved, the controller itself, so controller did two things. First it find a engineer who should be assigned the ticket, and both the name of the engineer as well as the name of the customer are saved in the model. Once it knows that these two things are saved in the model and it was all successful, it calls the notification service saying that I have created a new ticket for this engineer and this customer. This is the customer and this is the engineer. Now, hey notification service, please send an email to the engineer as well as the customer that the ticket has been created. The notification service, being an obedient service, creates an email which goes to Gmail, and Gmail then send it back to the customer and another party called as engineer. Okay, is the flow clear? Who wanted me to summarize? Aradhya. Yeah. a very pleasant thing to have this all organized. So isn't this look like a clean room? So can we call this design of our system? Yes, this is exactly the design of Abhijit. This is the design of the system. This is also this is depiction of the design using the flow, control flow. Oh, it is called as flow chart. It is actually called as flow chart. Yeah, this is impressive. And what is more good about it is once all the pieces fix together, it is like a very well clean room. Like if you look at a clean room, you know exactly where everything is going. It is so easy to work in that room. Whereas if you are like a teenager in a college, you don't know what is going where. You just know one place, a small contour on your bed where somebody can sleep, and there are books and everything lying around on the bed, and there is only one thing that happens. Uh, that is that there's one thing that happens in that room, that the student comes and sleeps. It doesn't do anything else. But this is a clean room. It knows what is happening. Does it like system design? Yeah, it's similar to system design, Ankit. It is actually called as low level design, Ankit. The exact word for this whole system is called as low level design, where I have defined classes, modules who are doing specific things. High level design would be, how do you scale this system to a million subscribers? Okay, and those challenges are what you need to take care of. Yeah, how do you set up the clusters? What should be the caching mechanism like? Do you want to always what will be the debugging methods? All those things will come under low level design. Okay, that's it for today. I'm sorry. In the next class, yeah, okay, yeah. Thank you, Radha. I'll push the changes. I'm pushing the code. Good night. I'm pushing the code. Connected. Notification. Servers. With CRM. Thank you. Bye, everyone. I'm pushing the changes. It will take few seconds. There's a lot of changes. And I've committed and I'm pushing. Yeah, changes are pushed. Bye, everyone. Have a nice day. Yes, Avijit, you can say that exactly. Yes, Avijit, you can say that. Bye.